Introduction. Victorian Shadows, Why Jack the Ripper Still Haunts the World. In the autumn of 1888, as gaslight flickered against the grimy brick walls of London's East End, a shadow fell across the civilized world that has never truly lifted. The name Jack the Ripper emerged from the fog-shrouded streets of Whitechapel like a whispered curse, carrying with it a darkness that would fundamentally alter how humanity understood evil itself. More than a century has passed since those terrible nights when terror stalked the narrow alleyways and cramped courtyards of Victorian London's most desperate quarter, yet the spectre of the Ripper continues to captivate, horrify, and mystify us with an intensity that defies the passage of time. The enduring fascination with Jack the Ripper transcends mere morbid curiosity about a historical crime spree. This case represents something far more profound and disturbing, a moment when the comfortable certainties of the Victorian age collided with an incomprehensible malevolence that seemed to emerge from the very heart of modern civilization. The Ripper murders occurred at a time when Britain stood at the pinnacle of its imperial power, when scientific progress promised to illuminate every dark corner of human knowledge, and when social reformers believed that poverty and vice could be systematically eradicated through enlightened intervention. Yet here, in the shadow of the greatest empire the world had ever known, something utterly inexplicable was hunting women through the streets with a methodical brutality that defied every assumption about human nature and social progress. The perfect storm of fear and fascination. The Jack the Ripper case achieved its legendary status through a unique convergence of factors that had never aligned in human history. The murders coincided with the rise of mass literacy and the explosion of popular journalism, creating the first truly global media sensation surrounding a serial killer. The newly established telegraph networks carried news of each fresh atrocity across continents within hours, while the burgeoning penny press discovered that nothing sold newspapers quite like the gruesome details of the Ripper's latest victim. For the first time in history, a killer's work was being dissected, analyzed, and sensationalized on a truly international scale, creating a template for media coverage of violent crime that persists to this day. The geographic setting of the murders proved equally crucial to their lasting impact. Whitechapel in 1888 was a study in contradictions, a festering wound in the heart of the world's wealthiest city, where desperate poverty existed mere miles from unimaginable luxury. The district had become a dumping ground for society's unwanted, immigrants fleeing pogroms in Eastern Europe, the chronically unemployed, the mentally ill, and women forced into prostitution by circumstances beyond their control. This concentration of human misery created the perfect hunting ground for a predator, while simultaneously serving as a mirror that reflected the dark side of Victorian progress. The respectable classes could not simply dismiss the Ripper murders as the random violence of the underworld because they forced an uncomfortable confrontation with the social conditions that their own prosperity had helped create. The anonymous predator. Perhaps no aspect of the Jack the Ripper case has contributed more to its enduring mystery than the killer's complete anonymity. Unlike other notorious criminals whose identities, backgrounds, and motivations have been thoroughly documented, Jack the Ripper remains a cipher, a name without a face, a personality constructed entirely from the evidence of his crimes. This anonymity has transformed the Ripper from a mere historical criminal into something approaching a mythological figure, a dark archetype that represents humanity's capacity for inexplicable evil. The very name Jack the Ripper carries an almost folkloric quality that distinguishes it from the mundane appellations typically assigned to criminal suspects. Whether coined by the killer himself in his infamous correspondence with the press or created by enterprising journalists seeking a memorable headline, the moniker perfectly captures the dual nature of the case's appeal. Jack suggests an everyman quality. This could be anyone, your neighbor, your colleague, the stranger you pass on the street. The Ripper evokes a more primal terror, conjuring images of claws and fangs, of something that tears rather than merely kills. Together, they create a persona that is simultaneously human and monstrous, familiar and alien, comprehensible and utterly mysterious. This anonymity has had profound consequences for how we understand and remember the case. Without a known perpetrator to analyze, study, and ultimately dismiss as an aberrant individual, the Ripper murders have become a mirror in which each generation sees its own fears and anxieties reflected. Victorian society saw in the crimes a manifestation of urban decay and moral corruption. The 20th century interpreted them through the lens of psychological dysfunction and sexual pathology. Our own era has found in the Ripper case echoes of domestic violence, misogyny, and the systematic oppression of society's most vulnerable members. The killer's anonymity ensures that he remains eternally contemporary, a vessel for whatever contemporary concerns we choose to pour into him. The birth of modern serial murder and the birth.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?